News you want when you want it from the Islamic perspective.
Now we have some websites, alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Who is Allah?
Maybe we'll even see somebody enter into Islam.
Excuse me, do you believe in God?
Why do we call him Allah?
One more time, everyone. Okay, good.
These are the ones that we're going to be mailing out. Ilaha. Illa. Allah.
And I bear witness that Muhammad.
And that's right, we're right across the river from Palestine, as a matter of fact, here in Aqaba. And Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we're coming to you almost live from right here in Maryland. Are you merry?
No.
Are you happy? M-E-R-R-Y means happy. Are you merry? Yeah. But I'm not married. M-A-U-R-Y, yeah? We've been talking about this book. Is it the Quran? How many think it's the Quran?
It's the meaning of the Quran.
Because it's the meaning of the Quran, but it's a translation into another language. And this particular one is into the Inglesi, the English language, and it's a pretty fair translation. As a matter of fact, it's one of the best that we have. However, it still has problems, because no matter who translates the Quran, they cannot make a perfect book. Why? Because Allah said in the Quran, in the real Quran, that if you're in doubt about it, bring a book like it. And nobody's been able to do that for 1,441 years. Wow, that's a long time. All right. What we're talking about now is some of the incidences of mistakes. However, sometimes it's not a mistake, it's by intention that somebody could mistranslate or use a word that's not really appropriate, or even lie. Ooh. Because the word qital means something of combat, active combat, fighting with somebody, even to the death. That's what qital means. However, when it's in the form of waqtuluhum, the translator, original translator, said it means slaughter them. But in Arabic, there is a word for slaughter, just like there is in English, which is meaning to slaughter animals. And you don't really slaughter people, because that would be cutting their heads off or cutting their necks. And so that is why they did it, because they wanted to attack the Muslims 1,000 years ago, and they used that to represent in the English language their idea of what we can get away with. So, anyway, another word that they used, we said slaughter, right? Another word that they used is dealing with the treatment of women. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking in Surah An-Nisa, the chapter of the women, he's talking about the responsibility of men over the women, because the men have to go out and work and bring back some of their resources to take care of the women. That's what it says. However, they played with it so much that they said, oh, okay, because God made one better than the other, but that is not the proper translation. And because of that, the women are always obedient to, and they said their husbands, but that's not the way it says it in Arabic. It's always to Allah. The first obedience is always to Allah. But they knew they could get away with that, so they said it that way. However, now we find this exact same kind of a problem today in the Quran translations, because people have relied on these forever, a long time, over 1,000 years. Wow.
That is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. Okay. Now, what would you think if somebody said scourge somebody? What does scourge mean?
Torture? That's bad.
Scourge. Anybody? This is something that they do on a boat when the captain of the ship finds out that somebody is trying to take his job and throw him overboard. It's called mutiny. Mutiny. Whenever somebody is trying to plot against the captain of the ship, that's called mutiny. And the punishment for it is scourging. What do? They tie the person around the big mast of the ship, the pole that goes up, and then they strip his shirt off, and then they start with the cat of nine tails, 9 whips, and they're slashing this back and forth until it's bloody, and then they throw salt water on it to make it hurt. And then they throw him overboard for the fish to eat. That's scourging. And they use that word in the same sentence, the same ayah that I was just talking about. And they explained it like this: if a woman is not obedient to her husband, he should scourge her. But the word in Arabic is daraba. Daraba. It can be, but also this is daraba, walking. Walking. And I asked the sheikh who was explaining it to me many years ago, I asked him, "You walk on your wife?" And he started laughing. He said, "No, it's to show you that there are different types of daraba. And if the word is followed by methla, it means an example. Show them an example." Now, in English, we do have this as a slang. We say, "How does this hit you?" And I'm not hitting you, but I say, "How does this hit you?" What if we go out here and ride our bicycles? How does that hit you? You get it? You understand?
How does it feel?
Huh?
How does it feel?
It's not about feeling anything. It's about an idea. It's an example of something. How does this hit you? This is an example. All right? You get it? Okay. So this is in Surah Ibrahim, chapter 14, verse 24. You can find it right there, and it says, and it is using the word daraba matla. So it's an example. So then it goes on and says a good tree or a good word. So is Allah hitting you with a word or hitting you with a word, a tree? A word or a tree? That doesn't make any sense. But the example he is giving, it does make sense. Anyway, So we have to be very careful how we translate even from the Arabic. Even if you know the Arabic language, you have to be careful of saying something. And you should always say, Allahu Alam, maybe, inshallah, it's like this. Otherwise, you can give a wrong impression of what the Quran really is saying. Because at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was no English language. And most of the languages on the earth have changed over that period of time. One of the original languages still is the Arabic language. Arabic used to be very close to the Jewish language of Hebrew, or what they called Eber at that time. And then there was another language. Anybody know what that was that Jesus spoke? Aramaic. Aramaic, very close to Arabic. So, but the letters don't look alike, but the words sounded similar. Okay, the last word I'm going to talk about, that there are a lot of mistakes in the translations. Some are really minor, and some are really like scourge. This one is very good, but still not perfect. The last word I'm going to talk about is the first word that Jibril alayhi salam said to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. I'm not going to call on you because I know you know the meaning, and I know you know the word. So I want to give the girls a chance. Anybody of the girls here, do you know what the first word that the Jibril, the angel Gabriel, what did he say when he went into the cave where the Prophet ﷺ was, and it was at night? Huh? Say it.
I forgot.
Okay, say it. Huh?
To read the Quran?
No. In Arabic, he spoke Arabic. There was no English at that time. You're not a girl. Unless you're supposed to have hijab on. Alhamdulillah. Do any of the girls know? How about any of the girls in the back? You know what the first word was in Arabic? And the angel said it, and then the Prophet ﷺ said, Ma ana bikari. Ma ana bikari. All right.
Ikra.
Iqra. But say it properly. Iqra. Iqra.
Ikra.
Perfect. Okay. But what does it mean? Everybody at all at one time. Yep and no. Yep, that is what the translators say, but until this lady translated it, everybody thought that. But she translated it as recite. I'm going to ask you a question. If you say read, can a blind person read?
No. They can only recite. No? Blind people can't see. Braille, because they can't see. Yeah.
Is that reading or feeling? Feeling. Okay, thank you. There's always one in the crowd. Thank you. Anyway, so what we're talking about is, this is something that we're supposed to be able to tell everybody. What about blind people? Can they recite?
No, because they can't see.
They can recite.
Yeah, they can memorize it and say it.
Yeah.
read.
Exactly what the Prophet ﷺ was saying. I'm not a reciter. Why did he say that? He didn't say I don't know how to read. He said, I'm not a reciter, because it was very popular at that time to do recitation for people and get paid for it. A lot of people recited like menus and attributes to somebody. They would give attribution to this guy or that one. So, yeah. We know what that means, a reciter. But most of them couldn't read at all, but they were reciters. And then the Quran came, and it was the recitation, Al-Quran. So what does Quran mean?
Recitation? Recite.
Recitation? Yes, it does. And you don't need a book for it, do you?
No.
As a matter of fact, if you just sit there and read in front of a teacher, do you get the credit for being a reciter of the Quran?
No.
They won't give you the ijazah, will they?
No.
You know what a ijazah is?
Weekend. No.
Huh?
No.
No.
Weekend. Homework credit.
What's ijazah?
Weekend. Or free time. Huh? Weekend.
No, that means you have an authority to do something. Like ijazah is like when you complete a course and they give you a document for that. Like, for instance, whenever you graduate from high school, there are signatures on it. Did you know that? Yeah. There are always signatures on it. So these signatures signify that this is official. You graduated. Ah, you know that, right? Yeah. So what about when somebody graduates from a Quran class and they memorize the whole Quran? They are not considered a memorizer of the Quran unless they've sat in front of the scholar who also knows the Quran and he listens to it. Is that true? Yeah. So, along with that, you have the people all the way back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Otherwise, you didn't memorize the Quran. Even if you memorized it, but you didn't memorize it properly. You have to have a link all the way back to the Prophet to be considered a hafiz of the Quran. Did you know that? Yeah. How many have memorized the Quran in this room? 1, 2. Memorized the total Quran. He's got his hand up.
Baba.
No. Okay. So we have 2. How about the ladies? Any of them memorize the whole Quran? Put your hand up so I can see it. Oh, mashallah. Okay. We have at least 4, maybe 5. Mashallah. How about somebody who's memorized an entire juz of the Quran?
Isn't it
I'm tired. The Hafiz can put their hands back up too. MashaAllah. So that's 1/30 of the Quran, is that right? Yes. How many memorized at least 10 chapters? Almost everybody here. MashaAllah. Yeah. Now, this is all in the Arabic language, because it doesn't matter what you memorize in other languages. Is that right?
No. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. What we're talking about now is the memorization or the preservation of the Quran. Hafiz means that it's somebody who keeps the Quran, protects it, and preserves it by memorizing it. It doesn't mean memorize, though. It means that you're holding it and protecting it. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Did they tell you that when you memorized the Quran?
Yes.
Yeah, they tell you that. So I've learned a lot of things about the Quran this year. I've been Muslim over 30 years, but I didn't know the things that I learned this year about the sources of some of the things that I was talking about earlier. Actually, a real, I want to use the proper words. I think the best way to say it is someone who really wanted to start a war used that translation, and they started what's called the Crusades. And they went into Jerusalem and started killing people right and left by saying that this translation, or the translation that they had at that time, was accurate, and it was what the Muslims are going to do, so we got to kill them before they kill us. Sound familiar, right? Yeah. Anyway, so this is one of the things that we need to be careful of. And we said the word Iqra does not mean read, it means recite. It's from the same root, and the Arabic language, you have roots, so you can go to the roots and find out what is the common denominator. So Quran is exactly the same root as a qari. What's a qari? A reciter. Is that right?
Car. Car. What?
MashaAllah. If you know that, then what is Iqra? From the same source, same root.
Recite.
Recite. And this is what the angels told him to do when he entered it in the cave with him. And the reason he grabbed him and hugged him, why do you know? What do you know about that?
So he squeezed him and then
He didn't squeeze him. He hugged him because he had known about Muhammad coming ever since the creation of Adam. And he really wanted to meet him, and that's why he hugged him 3 times. It was not a squeeze like a punishment for not being able to read. Yeah. Also, there was a preface to that original, the original translation that said that the Prophet ﷺ fell down on the ground, and he didn't fall down on the ground, and said that he was having epileptic seizures. And that's how he came up with the Quran. So, you know now, the course of what they were trying to do. Anyway, how do we take care of the Quran today?
By being respectful to it.
That doesn't answer my question. How do we treat it? You're saying respect.
Nice.
Nice. Okay. How do we treat it?
By treating, not fighting them. Be kind to them.
We're talking about the Quran. How can you treat the Quran?
I don't know.
Not letting them be not letting that just be read.
Okay. The Quran is recitation. It's not a book. This is a kitab. Is that right? Yeah. And it's a translated kitab, tarjuma. Is that right? Okay. So the Quran is really what you memorize and what you hold. How you treat the Quran is how much do you memorize every day and how you recite it out loud. That's the treatment of the Quran, not a book. But you do treat the book very good because you should not ever disrespect the written word. However, this is not the Quran. It's a translation of the sounds of the Quran. Even if it's in Arabic, it's not a translation, but it represents the Quran. But Quran is only out loud, because otherwise, I'm going through the motions, but I'm not saying anything, right?
It's not the Quran.
Only what comes out of my mouth is speech. If you have a written speech, that means that's intended for you to say it, right? Yeah. So this is the difference between the Quran and a book. Can somebody really burn the Quran?
No.
Well, what if they burn up a person?
Then you kill him.
And Allah talks about that in one of his chapters in the 30th juz of the Quran, about the people that were burned up in the fire only because that they believed in Allah as one God. You know the story?
No.
Surat al-Baruj.
Yeah, I know that story.
Yeah, all right.
Or the people that don't believe don't believe Allah were torturing the people that did believe Allah.
Yep, that's exactly right. So now we know a lot about the difference between a book and what's being recited. A book can be mistakes. Even a book intended to be in the full Arabic language can have a mistake in it. Is that true or false?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But if we find it, we have to do what to the book?
Be kind. Correct it. Try and make a new book.
Make a new book, but what do we do with the old book?
Correct it.
Burn it.
What?
Yes, sir. If it has mistakes in it, ask the sheikh.
Burn it.
Ask the sheikh. Do we burn it?
Yes.
Yep. MashaAllah. So we're going to take this break and we're going to be right back. So stay tuned and stay guided with Guidance TV. You're watching The Newsroom, Islam Newsroom. The news you want, when you want it. from the Islamic perspective.
Now we have some websites, alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Who is Allah?
Maybe we'll even see somebody enter into Islam.
You're watching the newsroom. The news you want. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Hu Alladhi Jalla Muslimin. All the praise is to Allah because He's the one that made us Muslims. MashaAllah. And I think this is a good time to explain a little bit more about the abuse and the use of the Quran. Some people abuse the Quran, and I'm talking about if they have used the Quran to get where they are in life, and then they abuse that by trying to control people. That's one kind of abuse. Another kind of abuse is between them and Allah.
What do you say?
Bismillah.
And then,
Drink it.
how many times?
Oh, yeah. Bismillah.
Give the lesson from Dr. Adel.
My doctor wants me to sip 3 times to get the rewards. Do you know that?
Yeah.
You can sip 3 times and get rewards from Allah? Yeah? What about somebody who intentionally memorizes the Quran just to make money? That would be abuse. Just to make money. They don't care about it. They just want to do it for money. Would Allah like that?
No.
No. Okay. Another thing about abusing the Quran is something that we're all guilty of because we don't remember it every day. You're supposed to remember it every day. Is that right? The Prophet ﷺ, he said what means in English, more or less, that the Quran can run away from you. Can you imagine the Quran running away from you? Like a camel that's unleashed, just runs away. Can it do that?
Yeah. Well, not just.
If the Prophet said it, you want to challenge him? I don't think so. Okay.
And
Yeah.
no.
What he's talking about is that it leaves your mind. And then all of a sudden you said, oh, okay, I memorized Surah Al-Buruj. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. What's you forgot. Oh, that's what he meant. Because memorizing the Quran is a very good thing, right? But forgetting the Quran is bad, right? Will you be punished for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you memorize even Surah Fatiha and then forget it, that's a bad thing. How many of you can recite Surah Fatiha from memory? From memory, okay? Let's do it right now. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wait a minute. What are we supposed to say first? A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. That's not in the recitation of the Quran, but we always say that because the Prophet ﷺ taught us to say that. What does A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim mean?
Wait.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Who can do it? I seek refuge in the from the shaitan. I seek refuge in Allah from the evil of the shaitan, right? Something like that. Yeah. MashaAllah. So now, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, that starts it. And I'll listen.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin.
Everybody did it very good. I was so proud of you. But maybe it's only in this little masjid here that they have that exactly that way. Or do you think it's that way all over the world? Huh? All over the world? Actually, I've been all over the world, and I've seen it in Japan, Korea, China, India, Malaysia, all of the Gulf area, parts of, and all of the northern part of the Europe, and it's always the same exact thing. But what if somebody made a mistake? Would you be able to catch it?
Yeah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Pronunciation. You made like 3 mistakes.
3 mistakes?
3 or 2.
Huh?
Pronunciation.
We all said that. Huh?
You said key. You're supposed to say key. So pronunciation.
Did you hear it, Sheikh? What was it?
Key.
Alaykum. Alayhum. Yeah. Alayhum. That's not a mistake, though. That's the alternate reading. Yeah, you know that. I don't want to purposely do that anyway, but I know most people don't know alayhum because without the diacritical marks, you can't tell. A lot of the things in the Quran could be pronounced one way or the other, but it still means the same thing. For instance, those guys or these guys. Those, these. It doesn't change anything. It's still a matter of guys. All right, now, I think you guys have really done a good job because you recited the Quran and you know a lot about it. I'm surprised, really, that you know so much about the Quran. How many of you have been coming to this session on every Sunday for a long time? Okay. How many, only a couple times? Yeah, a few times. All right. Alhamdulillah. But would you like to come more? Would you like to?
Yes.
Yeah? Maybe you can have some fun and learn stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like learning things. I don't like, though, if somebody is telling me, you have to learn this. That hurts my feelings. But if they say, do you want to learn it? And I say, yeah, I want to. So you have to have a good teacher and good material and a good place to hang out. And that's what makes a real proper school. A school is only a building, but if you have a teacher, that's number one. And a good book to work with, and some friends. Is that right? Yeah. You like friends? Yeah, I do too.
My friends.
So, when we're talking about the Quran, we have to really be careful of what we say about it, because the Quran is the word of Almighty Allah, the one who created everything. So it would not be smart for us to even put down a book, just like put it on the floor. It's not right. But if somebody puts it on the floor, you can just pick it up. You don't have to say, you know, go crazy on them. Just pick it up and tell them, hey, we don't do that. Is that right? And also, when somebody, and I've seen this happen in some of the countries, when they get married, they like to take the Quran over the heads of the people and walk them out to their car. Have you ever seen that? Anybody saw that? Huh? I think that's a disrespect for the Quran, because I don't find anything, maybe if somebody will show me that the Prophet ﷺ did it, I'm happy to do it, but I don't remember him doing that. By the way, you can ask somebody who you think is talking, but they don't have knowledge. Just ask them, what color was the Quran that the Prophet ﷺ carried around?
Green. Gold? Gold? Green. Gold. Dark green.
Dark green? Who said dark green?
Green.
That's the color I always like to inject in there. Was it green?
Gold? Blue. Gold? Gold? White.
I think the Sheikh can answer the question for us.
There wasn't any.
There wasn't any.
Oh.
Because it was memorization. That's what this whole lesson has been about. The Quran is only the Quran if you memorize it and speak it. This is not a Quran. Remember me saying that? This represents the Quran, but it's not the Quran. But actually, this doesn't represent it at all, because it's an English translation. However, I would like for you guys to get one of these. Maybe we have enough. I think for everybody here, maybe 30, 40, maybe 50.
My dad already got me.
Yeah. I would like for you guys to be able to read a better translation, but at the same time, remember that what you recite is the Quran. That's why the teachers have so much correction, and they say, no, it's not exactly like this, it's not like that, it's that. because they want you to have the perfection so you can pass it on. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So if somebody said, here's the Quran, you can take it. You can take it. But you know that the Quran is really in the hearts and the minds of the people. That's where the Quran is. And that's why it's important to understand it. Very important to understand the Quran. All right, so that winds up this session of it, and I would encourage you guys to stay tuned and stay guided by Guidus TV.
You're watching The Newsroom, Islam Newsroom. The news you want when you want it, from the Islamic perspective.
Now we have some websites, alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Who is Allah?
Maybe we'll even see somebody enter into Islam.
Excuse me, do you believe in God?
Why do we call him Allah?
One more time, everyone. Okay, good.
These are the ones that we're going to be mailing out. Ilaha. Illa. Allah.
And I bear witness. That Muhammad.
And that's right, we're right across the river from Palestine, as a matter of fact, here in Aqaba. The new moon, the Hilal, has been sighted for the month of Shawwal.
When the adhan is called, it doesn't matter where you are. You go and you make your salah, alhamdulillah.
Now, I think this is something that, inshallah ta'ala, we'll all be able to benefit from.
Log in now and make your contribution today to support your favorite project at donatetoislam.com.